In this episode, we talked to a gentleman in Florida who has created a four-step process to really help you to get the best out of your brand, get the best out of branding, and develop your brand in a way where you can grow rapidly and create success for your business. Before I introduce you to Grant, who is based in Florida, I'd love for you to subscribe to our podcast, give us a rating, leave us a review. It helps us to know when you come behind and do these things, what kind of content we should be sharing with you. And I'd love to get your feedback and how we're doing it in general. So without further ado, though, let's go and have a talk with Grant about his process for creating a stellar brand. Welcome to my show. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. Thanks for having me on the show, Ricardo. This is going to be great.
I know this is going to be awesome, and you're a hard man to catch up with, and I'm happy that we got a chance to do this. So thanks for jumping in. I know my listeners are curious and excited to hear from you, and so why don't we just get started and talk to us a little about you and what you do.
Absolutely. Number one, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm not a serial entrepreneur. I wouldn't describe myself like that. You are a self-described serial entrepreneur, and I love that about you. You are a free spirit. You just go out through things. You are looking at the variety of what you can do as a business person. So you are a business person. I also am a business person. I have a business called 5-Star BDM. That is for Brand Development Masters. And I started that 3 years ago specifically to help small business and entrepreneurs to grow, to take my 20 plus years as a sales professional and put it on the table, to package that for people that are coming along that path that I've already been on, working at many different companies like Avaya, CenturyLink, Zones, Connection, and now Valico Data Centers as well. And from a complex IT capital markets type play, and how do you then help entrepreneurs specifically now? And I love this about what your podcast is talking about, tool sets, because when I was coming up, these tool sets were so expensive. They were not available to the common person unless you had big pockets. Now you have the same availability through cloud computing, that you don't have to have giant capital expenditures in order to take advantage of some of these tool sets. So let's have a great conversation around that. And if you want to know more about, well, we'll get into this. What is 5-Star BDM? What is that all about? We're going to get into that, because really what it's about is about what you're doing. It's about personal brand, how you brand yourself to a level to become more visible, become more valuable, and to be that go-to person in your market.
That's awesome. And I know you alluded to it a little bit, but I mean, did you always wanted to do this? Like, how did you make a decision that this is your path in the last 3 years that you want to head down?
You know, that's a great question. As I stated, I've been in the information technology market for a long time. And because I've been in sales 20, 30 plus, I don't even want to say how many years. And the traditional way of doing sales, when you think about it, was very, at one point was very, you had to knock on some doors, you had to go to certain events, you had to become, known in certain circles just from that physical touch. And then email came along, in really right in that 2000s, where you could email someone. I thought that was just great, because we were using what they call now snail mail to get things out. Right now, you could just blast a bunch of information and you could actually work. Now that's slowed down because there's so many filters and spams, and people aren't checking email as much. What I found in 2014, I went to a training for CenturyLink company, the company I work for. And I usually, when you go to these kind of trainings, is very, standard, right? You're gonna give you what the company's about, what products and services they have, and they're going to introduce you to the corporate execs and send you on your way. Well, we got a trainer, and he said, I'm going to change the way you sell. If you follow me and understand what I'm going to tell you, I'm going to radically change the dimensions of how you approach the selling game.
Mm-hmm.
And it got my attention. It said, well, what are you talking about? Social selling. How to sell through social media, not just your Facebook, not just talking about, what I ate last night and, cute pictures of yourself or your family. No, how do you engage business-wise using social selling? Obviously, the platform of choice is LinkedIn. And he took us through this process of looking at different IT executives that were on LinkedIn. And I'll never forget this, so eye-opening. He said, I want you to take a look at this IT executive. Notice his professional headshot. Notice his curated banner. Notice his narrated opening line in his story and how he's crafted his profile. And he said, okay, you look at that? It's like, yeah, I see that. Now let's look at yours. Oh my God. I looked at my profile. And at that time, I had a full bodysuit. I looked like IT sales guy looking to pester you for your business. There was nothing outstanding about me. There's nothing that told a story about me. And he just said, honestly, would this person connect with you based on your profile? He doesn't know you at all. It doesn't have nothing to do with your services or product. So that was the time I was like, all right, I've got to up my game. I've got to change the way I am doing business and understanding that the first thing that someone's going to do, especially now, they're going to look you up socially. When you make any kind of connection with someone, they're going to look you up socially. Typically, especially as a business-to-business type relationship, it's going to be via LinkedIn. And if your LinkedIn is not curated, it's not telling a story, it's not branded you properly, you've already lost the first round of connection that it takes to build a relationship. So that's what got me started.
No, that's awesome. What a journey. And you're absolutely right. And so tell us a little about this process. So I know before we started, we talked about a process that you are using to help brands, help individuals brand themselves as well. Talk to us a little about this process. Let's dive into it.
Oh, absolutely. So the 5-star BDM process is a 4-week engagement. It's a 4-week one-on-one coaching engagement with me with deliverables with outcomes. Outcomes are so important. The first thing that got me going, especially in this business, is that people were reaching out to me, said, Grant, I love the way you've branded yourself. I love the way that you're socially recognizable on LinkedIn. You have mastered digital networking. Can you help me? And I was like, that's interesting. Let me step back and think about what I do and how I do it and how I can put that together into a strategy and into a methodology that's going to help the typical small business owner or entrepreneur. And that is what I put together. So the first part of that, and what I call a brand strategy, is that you're going to have to first look at what you want to accomplish. What does that look like? I need to understand what it is what does success look like? Once that's determined, then I will begin to do the market research for you. Once we've been engaged, let's take a look at the market research, understand what it is that you're looking to accomplish and where you sit. So that first deliverable is what we call a skills gap workbook. That means I'm taking what you want to accomplish, and then I'm going to take a look at your current position in the marketplace, and then how you get to that future state through a skills gap workbook. That's going to just set the stage. Like, all right, that's what I need. But this is what you look like. This is where you're at. This is going to help you to understand where you need to go. After that, we move into stage 2. Stage 2, we start looking at your SWOT analysis. This is your strength, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and threats as it relates to everything that you learned in your skills gap workshop. Everything builds off one another, right? And then we start looking at truly where you're at, where you sit from a career development standpoint, also a business development standpoint. That becomes also a deliverable. It's a module within the 5-star BDM um, brand methodology, right? Once we've got that, then we start looking into actually delivering the brand strategy. And what does that look like? So you've got to understand your target audience and having that completely mapped out and understand whether it's demographics, whether it's psychographics. It's going to be about what does it need? What are you going to have to do to create audience? What is it you're going to have to do to create the brand story, the narrative? What makes you different? What your differentiators are? And then put it into a framework for the brand strategy as your steps. These are the steps you're going to have to go through to get to that desired stage, right? In very vivid terms, right? And then it starts to get into what we call the recommendations. These are the investments you're going to have to make in yourself, whether you may need a rebranded website or a new website, whether it's going to be a brand guideline that's going to show you what your particular logo is going to look like and all the different brand colors, all those different things that you're now going to invest in. This is the common mistake I typically see in entrepreneurs and small business owners, that they start to execute at a level that's really at stage 4, what I just talked about, instead of at stage 1. So then you're all over the place and your messaging is not aligned. There's no alignment in what you're trying to accomplish. Then we can then deliver you a media kit. We can deliver you a branded, personalized video. All these things starts to make sense. It starts to get clear. You have perfect clarity. So in a short discussion, that is the 4-step methodology that I take you through to deliver the brand strategy.
And that's awesome. And in my mind, I'm thinking now, I'm a solo entrepreneur, or I'm maybe a speaker, just kind of a one-man band, as we always like to refer to it. Or I might have a team. I might just have a boutique sort of business, or I may just be running a full-fledged business that's expanding, looking for expansion, etc. I mean, which of those groups do you actually work with? Who's a good fit for this 4-step process? Is it for everyone? Is it for a specific group of folks who are interested in branding themselves, personal branding, or branding their business as their start?
That's a great question. It's actually for all of the above. I tailor each engagement to who I'm working with. Typically, you're going to find the business owner, even if they're a business owner of a 100 to 200 person operation, it still goes back to what is your vision? What's the clarity of where you're at? I need to understand that. Now, if that's a group discussion, let's have a group discussion. We've got to look at what is the current problem that you have? Where are you missing the mark? What is not happening at the end of the funnel? It's at the beginning of the funnel, and it's the beginning of the idea stage. So we have to have some ideation. Where are we at? And does that fit? Because if that doesn't come together, you might be a mature business. You may be running as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, but if it's not working, something needs to change. But we have to go back to the very, very beginning and take a look at what is your vision, your mission, your values. What is it what you're doing? What problem are you solving for others? And if you can articulate that, then we take a look at what your brand is saying, because there's probably a gap right there. So I can work with, and I have worked with, all the above. I have found probably more traction with what I call your entrepreneurs, people that are starting out in business that need to understand how to even going. And then those that have been in business, but they find like, look, my funnel is dry. I don't have what I need. Or it's another flare. I'm about to roll out a whole new program and a whole new process, but it may be somewhat different for where my lane has been, or it may be closely related. How do I then brand myself? So all these things can be worked into the framework, because again, I start from that beginning stage. We have to do the assessment and the market research to understand where the gaps are before we can then move into what we call the SWOT analysis.
Yeah. And I think that's so important. There are so many gaps sometimes that pops up as you make your assessment and kind of figure out where you are now versus where you want to be. And most people ignore those gaps because they think that they have a solution for it. And so what do you say to the entrepreneur or the business person that says, well, I've kind of been through a process like this before, like I've done this before. What is different about your 4-step process than the ones that I've done before? How would you respond to something like that?
Ultimately, it's all about the individual and the synergy that you're working with. People work with me because they already see my results. They already see my outcomes. So that's just how I am different. You might see someone else that does, let's say they do personal branding, or they may do, business branding, and they could be doing certain things. I lead with my brand. If you like how I look and show up on social media, if you like how I'm personally branding others, you start to see the outcomes of others that have worked with me, and you want those similar results, that is why you would work with me, because you're already seeing the outcome that you are looking to achieve. That's why I have a podcast that runs every week that I showcase different individuals. A lot of times they're healthcare executives. A lot of times they're in information technology. A lot of times they're even outside, what I call outside of my particular industry. However, they know that I can serve them because I serve the human factor. I look at the human factors, and those human factors they're somewhat similar in certain degrees, and there's a comfort level in which they want to work with me, and we have conversations. It's like me and you're having right now. We have conversations, and through those conversations, there's a lot of times I tell people, you're not ready to do this right now. Don't make an investment in something you're not really ready to do. You may be curious about the process, but are you ready to do the work? Because this is not Grant doing the work, it's us doing the work. I can't develop a brand or a personal brand for you. I can develop a personal brand with you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. And so tell me about sort of something practical. So you have 4 steps. Let's maybe choose one of those steps and sort of give me a practical example of how someone would have an experience with you, let's say going through process number 1, which is you indicated just kind of understanding, what do you want, right? What's that goal that you actually have? What's that vision?
No, that's a great question. And that is like some of the testimonies I've gotten from people that have gone through my particular program. There was a nurse, been a nurse 20 plus years, and she was very interested in the NFT world, Web 3.0, non-fungible tokens. She really wanted to get into that. She had gotten the buzz from working with her son who was into digital art, and she stumbled across this NFT and she really got hooked into it. But she said, man, how do I make that leap from, I'm a 20-year career nurse, how do I become and be seen as a NFT expert? It's a big gap there. I'm not there. We had a conversation. So the first thing is that she reached out to me. I said, well, through my website, through what she was seeing, what I was doing on LinkedIn, and she got a little taste of that. She said, I want to reach out to you. We want to have a conversation. So I have a half-hour free consultation. During the consultation, she told me, it's like, look, I'm signing up for another training program as we speak, but I saw what you were talking about, and I was interested in how you do things. And I had a real good conversation with her about number one, confidence.
Mhm.
Confidence. You're not confident that you are able to become this NFT expert. For her, she was calling herself the nurse NFT.
Mhm.
Okay. So in order for you to get that confidence, we're going to have to do some research. We're going to have to really look at this, see where you sit, and where you sit will determine if this is something that you truly want to pursue and you understand the time and money commitment that you're going to have to make in order to make this a successful venture. She liked what I said. So that began the engagements. Like, all right, I'm going to engage Grant. I want to get signed up. I like where this is going. I think I can get some valuable information. Remember,
Mhm.
information and knowledge sometimes comes free, but the organization, the orchestration, and the application is really what you're paying for. And that is what I am delivering for you. So in that first stage, we now got to look at that research. So I did this research on NFTs for her, but I did it more specifically around nursing in the medical realm, in the healthcare realm, and see who else is doing it. Well, this is a new market. It's new for everybody.
Mhm. Mhm.
Once you began to understand that and like, yes, you can step into this light because no one that's doing this right now has your 20 years of experience. You lean into those 20 years of nursing that you understand, and then now you're just really recreating a digital twin of that expert.
Mhm.
Once she got that into her thought process, she's like, oh,
Mhm.
I can do that. Like, yeah, you might need to go get some digital designers, someone that can recreate certain imagery for you and all those type of things. But no one has your breadth and depth of experience as a nurse in those settings. You're just recreating it. So we are able to do that in that phase one module. And that got her deeper in because now she got that number one thing that you need is confidence. Now I'm confident. Once you're confident, you step away from that feeling like, am I doing the wrong thing? Was this a waste of time? Did I just waste my money? All those kind of things kind of go away because now you're working with me. You understand that what we deliver is like baking the cake together.
This podcast is brought to you by MI Digital Hub. MI Digital Hub is a all-in-one 360-degree high-level experience of your digital presence on the web today. If you would like to understand where you are now, what does your digital presence look like today, visit midigitalhub.com. Gives you a full snapshot report on where you are when it comes to SEO, your performance, social media listing, your Google My Business listing, all of those things you will be able to find in a single tool like the MI Digital Hub. At the MI Digital Hub, you will be able to generate that snapshot report and manage exactly what's happening with your digital presence. So visit midigitalhub.com today. Check it out, generate your free report, and certainly dive in to see how you can make changes when it comes to your digital marketing. This podcast is brought to you by mMessenger. mMessenger is your all-in-one SMS tool to facilitate SMS messaging across 200 countries around the world. Visit mmessenger.co to learn how you can start using SMS for notifications, for alerts, for updates, whatever you'd like to share with your customers. mMessenger is the communication tool for you. mmessenger.co. Visit that location and you will be able to learn more about how you can get started today with mMessenger. This podcast is brought to you by MI Group. MI is your source for technology solutions, digital marketing, and hosting your digital assets on the web today. Visit migroupco.com to learn how you can utilize our services to help you grow your business quickly. migroupco.com to learn more.
Yeah. So hopefully that answers your question.
No, and that's great. And I love the part where, folks will come and they have a struggle because they've been into a space for so long, and literally just can't see anything outside of that. And you've been able to really help them connect the dots. So I feel like a lot of what you're doing is also connecting dots to these people who are looking to take a new leap or take a new a journey, essentially, right? So I really like that. Let's talk about sort of integration for a second. Like, how do we then take the processes that you have and integrate it into other components of our business? Like, we have, running a business, there's so many moving parts, right? And here it is that there's a process, which is this 4-step process that you provide. And once you'd have gone through that, like where are some of the other areas in the business that we can really kind of apply this kind of stuff, or what's the effect that it will actually have on other areas of the business, whether it's finance, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, whether it's talent acquisition, etc.
Great. Another good question. And you've got to look at tool sets. And as you go through the journey of running a business, no matter how big or small, you start to realize you're utilizing a lot of tools to uplift what you're doing, your product or your service. How do you do it that differentiates you from your competitor? Because there's a lot of similarities there, but then there's uniqueness in how you do it. One of the things that I do that creates a lot of attention, I got very good in creating short, impactful videos. And I learned that through our mutual friend over there at BizHack.
Right,
And it was
right.
great. Now, I learned it by utilizing it just for short 15-second, 30-second commercials, right? And that's how I was looking at it. But I took it to a whole nother level for my business. I wasn't doing 15 and 30-second commercials. What I did was, what I have, I believe, some uniqueness is that I can listen to a person's story and then recreate a 1 to 2 minute video of that person to give them a video profile of who they are. And in a very short period of time, utilizing that Lumen 5 framework. This is what attracted my nursing client. She saw that what I did for someone else, man, that was so cool. Could you do that for me? Not saying that's the end result of what I'm doing, but that's how you take a tool that is a commodity, repurpose it to create a brand buzz about what you're doing in a way that is attractive to other people to bring them in. So that's the first phase, right? You've got to create sales pipeline. You've got to create opportunity. Once you get people to the dance, right? But then you got to dance, right? And there, I made this list of different tools. Wow, I use a lot of different tools to get where I'm going. But like LinkedIn, let me just talk about LinkedIn just for 1 second. LinkedIn, yes, it's a social media platform. For me, it is my CRM to a certain degree. I started to realize that because I had 15 in, if I added all of them up, maybe 30 some odd thousand people in this database that's in LinkedIn. I was like, how do I get them out of LinkedIn? And I realized I didn't have to get them out of LinkedIn. I did not have to they're already there. It's already a great tool. It's a fantastic tool. I just needed to provide them with the information for them to then come back to me because they like what I was doing. So when I bring people to me via video, and now they're engaged because I have connection with them. That's my secret sauce because I have a great network of individuals, people that work with me now get access to that same great network of people, which is phenomenal. That it depends on what product or sell, what you're selling, career development, business development, and that type of thing. That's a great selling point for 5-star BDM.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then you start to walk them through the process. Like right now, we're doing a video or a podcast. Got to develop what you know. To produce a podcast is a lot of moving parts behind the scenes. How do you get all these things done, and what tool sets are you using? Like I use Buzzsprout, but even to get to the Buzzsprout, you've got to be able to upload it. You've got to do a lot of editing. I use Audacity. I use a lot of different tools to get to where I want to do. But then I have choices. Do I want this to be purely an audio play, or do I want it to be a video play? I now have time to maybe I reproduce it as audio the first time, and then I reproduce it for the YouTube at a later date. So there's different ways of utilizing all these different tools to get maximum impact.
That's amazing. And I'm glad you shared that, because then, so my next question now is, so folks who are listening, and our listeners are typical entrepreneurs, maybe marketers as well, business owners, and they're just looking for ways to create more success from folks who have already created success, right? And so if they're, what should we do? Where should we go? Is there a site? Is there a place we can go to sign up to get access to this process, or to connect with you so that you can actually help us through this 4-step process that you have?
Absolutely. You can go to my website, www.5, that's the number 5-star, STAR, BDM, that's B for brand, D for development, informasters.com. When you come to that site, you're going to see a lot what I'm doing from a podcast perspective, also a YouTube perspective. And I'm just now rolling out my 4-step process within the e-commerce store. As I'm rolling, if you need help now, you just go to my contact us, you book an appointment, and we have a one-on-one consultation. Pretty soon, you're going to start seeing more optimizations that I'm doing at a lower price point, as for people to get a taste of what they can get done for where they're at. I always encourage people, number one, as far as things that they can do to differentiate yourself, you've got to be able to take a step back. This is what personal branding is all about. You want to take a step back and have to see yourself and your own story. Go back 5 years. What is that story like 5 years ago to now? Go back 10 years. What is that story like 10 years ago to now? Start to understand your journey, understand where you're at. As someone told me, it's so important that you are most uniquely positioned to solve the problems of who you were 10 years ago. And so those are the kinds of things you start to look at, and then you got to remember there are other people that are at that plateau. Like we're all climbing this large mountain. Someone's already at plateau number 1. Well, you saw that, you're at plateau 4. You can uniquely be a mentor for that person that's at plateau 1. You still have to do the work, but they may not need to make as many mistakes as they normally would to move their business forward.
Yeah, that's incredible. I always like to say we're always in the middle, someone we follow and someone we lead, right? And so just knowing that about life, we have to be in position to understand the incredible value that's embedded into that, right? This is great, man. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you'd love to share with us?
No, I think you have an incredible platform. I love what you're doing. We need to understand there's a ton of tools out there. There's a ton of software tools that are available. You've got to find the one that works for you. As I stated earlier, a lot of times you couldn't do a lot of these things yourself. You'd had to pay someone else to do a lot of these things, and it would be cost prohibitive, especially when you're starting out. Like, wow, I don't have that much money to create. I can now create videos as many as I want using one tool, instead of having to pay someone for maybe 1 or 2 videos that cost me thousands of dollars. That's a great, great, great tool. Understanding how to integrate all your different facets, moving from your website as your core into your social media as on your edge, and then having all those tools that work intertwined together to actually uplift your client is very, very important.
Nice, nice. I want to do a quick lightning round with you because I know you wrote down a bunch of tools. So I wanted to ask you quickly, just kind of give me the rundown of the tools that's in your wheelhouse right now.
Well, we talked about, obviously I use LinkedIn a lot. That's like my number one tool for a CRM type basis. Obviously, then I onboard them into. Now, one thing that people, for me, I don't use email like Constant Contact and Survey much as much. And there's a reason, not to say you should not collect email addresses. I think that's important. For me, what I have found that there's so much filters out there and spam filters out there that I'm not reaching my client. I utilize the in-mail feature of LinkedIn. Because I have the number one connection with them, I can send messages directly to them. I love that. When I want to do an event, I use LinkedIn event. People know about it. I can easily send it out. They can see who else is attending, and it works great. I'm not telling you not to utilize email. Just understand why you're using it, and could you use maybe another tool better to make your email database even more attractive. That is what I'm saying. Because when people know you, they respond to email. If they don't, they tend to not respond as much. Have a well-groomed website. Your website has got to tell the story very succinctly. I just went through a rebrand myself as I'm rebranding, because where I started 3 years ago and where I'm at now is different. So now I had to rebrand that website and make it more impactful for what I'm doing, and then incorporate Acuity. I use Acuity scheduling. A lot of people use Calendly. They're very, very similar. I just use Acuity. I thought it worked good for me. I use Zoom to record a lot of my podcasts. I also use StreamYard when I'm doing my live TV show on Wednesday nights at 7. I use StreamYard because it's very easy then to project to all these different platforms, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Roku, whether it's on LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, and thus. Very, very good platform. It doesn't cost a lot to use. And then I use, again, how to use create buzz and anticipation about different episodes. I'm doing my videos. That's from Lumen 5. I also use Wondershare, Filmora, when I want to get more creative with the video, depending on what it is I want to do. And then, of course, I will go out and buy or utilize a third party for dynamic videos that I am recreating as well. I use Grammarly. Grammarly, when you're doing your own writing, you can't afford a copywriter, you got to write some copy yourself. Use Grammarly. Grammarly is a wonderful tool. It definitely will help you correct errors even better than just spelling. It's going to give you suggestions of how to write in certain voices. It's very, very, very good. When I'm recording my intros, I use Audacity for my podcast. That's what I use Audacity for, and I do a lot of editing with that. I also use a teleprompter tool. You can get that online. It's free. You get an online teleprompter when I'm doing certain one-on-ones or a keynote speech or something like that. It's wonderful. If I'm re-recording a podcast, I'll use my teleprompter because it's easier and it sounds more visually appealing. It sounds better audibly. People tell me that. I use Canva. Canva is another free tool. You can also upgrade because you can do a little bit more, like $12 or so. I use Canva to create different types of visual effects. I think is very, very good. Obviously with Adobe Photoshop. So then just pushing everything out to LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and just doing your online promotion. So that gives you a snapshot from from a marketing perspective, what does that look like? In the back end, I'm just using QuickBooks. That helps a lot, keeps a lot of my books straight. But that's kind of what I'm doing.
Awesome. That's amazing. Well, I really hope that listeners can take some stuff away from this. I wanted to ask you though, what kind of books do you actually read or have read that has really made an impact in your life? And maybe I know you do the Follow the Brand podcast, which is a great podcast. Outside of that, what other podcasts do you actually listen to?
Well, a couple of them. I'll answer the first question. One of the books that I read that got me, that it was very foundational for me, was a book by Mike Kim, Kim. I think it's called The Brand, Be the Brand, or The Brand of You. I can't remember the exact name of the title, but it gives you a framework. There are 8 fundamentals that you need when you are building your business or your brand. And I see if I can remember those right now, because I read this book about 3 years ago, but I still utilize this. Number one, you've got to have a point of view. What is your point of view? Your point of view is what's going to really start to differentiate you. You've got to have a personal story. Well, that's very, very important that you craft, right? And then you've got to have platform. What's the platform that you're going to utilize? You know, where there's going to be podcasting, there's going to be blogging, there's going to be YouTube. You've got to have some kind of platform for your message, right? And then you've got to have position. You've got to be able to position that message to the right audience. What does that position look like? Where's your positioning in the market? Once you've got those 4, then you can start looking into your product. What is the product or service that you're providing? Then you can get into pricing. What is your price? Remember, that's 6 steps now before you get into pricing. Now you get into what pricing looks like. And then you start getting into what your pitch is. Look at that, 7 steps in, then you get into your pitch. Now you've got all these other 6, 9, 7. Now you get into your pitch. And the 8th thing, you get into partnerships. Those are the partnerships that you form around you. When you've got those 8 steps really ingrained, I learned that from that book. Now you're ready. And there's a process that you go through to get to where you're going. It's not something you jump out day one. That's a journey that you're going to take, but it may take you a year to 18 months to really get this perfected. So I like Mike Kim. I also like his podcast. He has a world-renowned podcast for personal branding. He's got 300, maybe 400 episodes that he's done. That's another thing I love. You can get so much information. Think about this. We just had 2 years where people were locked down, had nothing to do but podcasts or video cast. And why is that important? They gave you a lot of information that normally you might have had to pay for because you had to go to a conference to learn. So information and knowledge are out there. You just have to apply it. Do your research, do your Google, like, wow, what do I really want to know about? So I do that for personal branding. I love Gary Vee. I think Vandertuck, I think he's very good. I follow David Breyer a lot. I think he's wonderful. I do Steve Horahan for just the brand strategy. You know, you get into the actual visual effects. You know, so those are some of the people that I follow.
That's awesome, man. I really love that. And now, of course, you are going to be on More So or podcasts, which I'm sure you'll enjoy, and folks will enjoy listening to you as well. You know, we're looking for, you know, creators and users, master users, professionals like yourself, experts who have really created success for their business or other businesses and can share those with us. Who do you think our next podcast guest should be, as you think about that?
Man, I think your next podcast guest should be Jerome Hutchinson.
Hutch, okay. Well, we both know Hutch, so we got to get him on the show. We got to get him on the show. Listen, man, this has been great. This is really great. I took away just a bunch from what you shared about your process. I love those 8 Ps, and you just run them right off like that. That means that you're leaning into that. So that's really awesome. Thank you so much for jumping in today, for chatting with us, and we should stay in touch. We should do another catch up. I'd love to see where things are at in another couple of months, maybe. I don't know if there's a book coming out. I don't know if there's a movie. I don't know what's coming out, but I know you're always creating the next best thing for your people. So I appreciate I appreciate you sharing with us today.
Oh, without question, we'll always stay in touch, Ricardo. You're one of my guys. I met you a couple of years back, and I love what you're doing. I love your platform, and I'm sure that I always look for people that are doing good things, because things can't. I am not the master of everything. I pull teams together to get things done. So you'll definitely be on my list.
Awesome. I appreciate it. All right, we'll talk soon. That was Grant from 5-Star BDM sharing his 4-step process. I really love everything that he shared with us is huge takeaways, and I hope that you had great takeaways as well. Don't forget those 8 Ps. Don't forget to check the books out. Don't forget that 4-step process that you can lean into, reach out to Grant for. We love bringing you these kinds of content, but would love for you to give us a review, leave us a rating, subscribe to us, follow us, so that we understand that the content we're bringing to you is something that's helping, that's valuable. So folks, like I always say, until next time, don't forget to choose a tool to rule your growth. We'll talk soon.